Hello and welcome to Transfer Talk, sponsored by Bit. This is the transfer show that brings you up to date with all the latest in the footballing world. And we'll start today with the Rumour Mill, and that begins with Azzedine Ounahi. The Moroccan midfielder was a star in their team's run to the World Cup semi-final and has attracted plenty of interest from around Europe. After the now ex-Spain boss Luis Enrique said he was impressed with Ounahi, the whole world has started to take notice. Napoli, AC Milan, Leeds and Aston Villa are all impressed with the midfielder who's got bags of energy and the second most dribbles in Liga behind Lionel Messi. Following on from this, and there's Jan Sommer, the man who could be moving to Bayern Munich if they can agree a deal with Borussia Mönchengladbach. At the minute, the latest offer is around €8 million. That's some way off the most paid for a goalkeeper over the age of 32, and that was Claudio Bravo, 18 million to Manchester City. Following on from this one, and Youssoufa Moukoko, this is a rather interesting deal, as not only does his contract run out in the summer, but Dortmund, of course, don't want to lose him on a free altogether. The interested parties are Chelsea, Arsenal, and most recently there's been Barcelona who want to sign him on a pre-contract agreement. However, according to transfer guru Fabrizio Romano, there is a deal on the table for him from Dortmund that would see a deal that could potentially come in from Barcelona accepted in the future. Basically, Dortmund just don't want to lose their star man on a free transfer. Next up, and we have Memphis Depay. This is a player who could be leaving Barcelona, but not on the cheap. Despite the fact that he's only got 6 months left, Barca wants to get a little bit of money for him. There are reports suggesting he's agreed a deal with Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan as well. If he goes to Inter, Barca wants some money. If he goes to Atletico, they may want Yannick Carrasco in return. The Belgian winger hasn't exactly had the best of times recently at the club, and it's been reported that he's not too happy with the terms of his current contract. So, a move could be on the cards, but in Carrasco, Atletico do have a rather valuable asset, so including him in a swap deal doesn't exactly make the best of financial sense. And following on from this, there's Moussa Diaby. This is an interesting one for Arsenal, who are reeling off losing out to Chelsea for Mykhailo Mudryk. He eventually ended up at Stamford Bridge for quite an expensive fee, so Arsenal have turned their attention to Diaby. The French star has been brilliant at Leverkusen and really fits into Arsenal's style of play. He'll be one of the front three who has been charged with scoring quite a few goals if Arsenal were to continue their title charge without the injured Gabriel Jesus. The only problem, though, for Mikel Arteta's men is they're up against another team with very, very deep pockets in Newcastle. They won't want to be pipped to another signing in the January transfer window for the second time in the space of a week. But that is all for the rumour mill. Let's move on to the done deals in the last 7 days. This then brings us on to our done deals of the week, the transfers that have been completed in the past 7 days. And like we mentioned before, Mudryk has joined Chelsea. After so much talk about a deal to Arsenal, Chelsea have paid up to €100 million and he has joined Graham Potter's side. The player was actually paraded around at half-time of the win over Palace, and it's a game which showed just how blunt in attack they really are. Mudryk will definitely need to help in that area, as he has done with Shakhtar previously. The interesting thing is that he's very similar to other Chelsea players already, but this isn't just a deal for now. He could potentially outlast not only Potter, but a few other managers, as he has signed an 8.5-year deal at the club. That is pretty crazy for the Premier League. Next up, though, and we're sticking with Chelsea because they have signed João Felix. It was almost a week ago that the deal was done, and his debut, well, didn't exactly go to plan with a red card against Fulham. 2 new attackers in the Chelsea front line means they do have a lot of options, but like I mentioned, Felix isn't going to be available for 3 Premier League games. That makes his expensive loan deal even more expensive. Someone with his quality, though, they just need to get Felix the ball in the right areas of the pitch. Moving on, and Jorginho Rutter has joined Leeds United. In fact, he becomes their most expensive signing ever after joining from Hoffenheim for €40 million. With 11 goals and 11 assists in 64 games, he'll be good backup to the likes of Bamford and Rodrigo, who have both got fitness issues, although Rodrigo has been better this season. With a second straight relegation battle on the cards, Leeds will definitely need him to hit the ground running. Otherwise, this could be a rather expensive player to have in the Championship. Moving on to the next one, though, and Wolves have been very busy. This is a brilliant signing from an expensive one in Rutter for around 40 million to a very cheap one. 30-year-old Sarabia has joined Wolves for £4.4 million, and he's not the only one who's coming to the club after Mario Lemina signed as well. And of course, they've got Matheus Cunha too. It looks as though Wolves, knowing that they're in a relegation battle, are really backing new manager Lopetegui, and they've brought in some quality players. Sarabia actually spent last season on loan in Portugal with Sporting, but since moving back to PSG, his parent club, he just has not been able to get the game time ahead of the likes of Neymar and Lionel Messi. Then again, not many other players can, so he has joined Wolves and heads to the Premier League. And the last one is Wout Weghorst, the one you all know about, as he has joined Manchester United. The club paid a fee to Besiktas to end his loan deal early from Burnley, and then they've taken him from Turf Moor on loan until the end of the season. He brings a different style of football to Erik ten Hag's side, and in fact, Wout Weghorst is our game breaker of the week, so let's take a look just how he fits into the side at Old Trafford. That then brings us on to our game breaker of the week, which of course is Wout Weghorst, Manchester United's brand new signing. So let's take a look at how he could fit in at Old Trafford instead of Anthony Martial. The problem for Manchester United at the minute is that Martial is a bit of a drifter, whether he picks the ball up from deep or moves to the left-hand side and swaps with Marcus Rashford. There's often times where there isn't too much of a presence in the central area, especially when it comes to getting the ball into the box. That is where Wout Weghorst can definitely come in, mainly occupying this central role, but it's what he can do both on and off the ball in different phases of play, which will be so important to Erik ten Hag's side. So, firstly, let's take a look at the build-up for Manchester United. When it comes to receiving the ball short, Wout Weghorst can move into these areas. This is where his physicality can help him hold up the ball. We saw Ten Hag last summer try to sign the likes of Marko Arnautovic. That one didn't exactly work out, but it's the big physical direct player that he wants up front to be a focal point in attack. Here, once Weghorst holds onto the ball, he's then got the options around him. Marcus Rashford can come and join in the attack. So can Antony. So can Bruno Fernandes. That's if Weghorst plays high and the players can run in behind him. We saw Antony score a brilliant goal from the edge of the box in the Carabao Cup earlier this season, and it's those sort of areas that are one option even for Erik ten Hag's side. The second is if Wout Weghorst drops a little bit deeper. This would see him move into this role and lay the ball off to the likes of Fernandes and the brilliant passing of Christian Eriksen, which has been so key for United this season. With Weghorst dropping a little bit deeper into this area, Fernandes picking up the ball, it then allows the likes of Marcus Rashford and Antony to move in behind. Weghorst dealing with the centre-backs, pulling them out of position, gives Rashford, especially we've seen, the space to utilise all his dribbling and his skill to go and attack the goal directly rather than around the left-hand side. But there's way more to Wout Weghorst's game as well. Of course, being 6'6" means that he's genuinely going to be a rather good target man when it comes to getting into the box. Now, this season, we've seen Manchester United cross the ball least in the Premier League. No team has crossed it fewer, but that doesn't mean that Ten Hag is necessarily against crossing the ball. At Ajax last season, his side crossed the most in the Eredivisie because they had a big man up front in the middle in Sebastian Haller. So we may see this replicated. It doesn't need to be Manchester United's first option, but it's a very, very good one to have. With the likes of Marcus Rashford and Antony moving inside, like we see with many other teams in the Premier League, the fullbacks overlapping. You've got Diogo Dalot there. You've got Malacia on the left-hand side. They can get to the byline, put the ball in the box. Weghorst can go directly for goal, or, like we've seen him do for the Netherlands as well, bring in other players around him. The knockdowns to the on-rushing Bruno Fernandes could be a real asset to Manchester United's play. And finally, there's a bit of a, let's say, uglier side of football that Manchester United could use with Wout Weghorst up front. And that comes from one big line from back to front, whether it's Malacia, whether it's Diogo Dalot, whether it's even David De Gea as well. The long ball could really play into Weghorst's strength, whether it's flicking the ball on or just holding it up. It gives Manchester United another dimension. Earlier on in the season, we saw them absolutely hammered 4-0 at Brentford. And the problem was they were pressed so easily. Goals came from pressing, losing the ball in deeper positions, and David De Gea just could not clear it, and United couldn't hold on to it. So with teams maybe second-guessing whether or not the press is a good idea, this gives them another brilliant option, whether they use it or not. And that is exactly how I think Weghorst could really add a different style of play and some positive movement going forward for Manchester United. So that's all from our transfer talk for this week, sponsored by Bit. Next week, we'll have plenty more on the rumour mill, some that may or may have not moved into the done deals of the week, and of course, another game breaker as well. There'll be plenty happening in the next 7 days, so we'll see you then.